morning, 34-year-old self-described Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani is now New York City's youngest mayor in more than a century. His closest competitor in the polls, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, called his own run, quote, the right fight to wage. Cuomo, who ran as an independent and had President Trump's last-minute endorsement, narrowed the gap in the final days of campaigning, but it was not enough. Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa remained a distant third for most of the race and resisted calls to drop out. Last night when he conceded, he said if socialism is implemented, quote, we will become the mayor-elect and his supporters' worst enemy. As for Mamdani himself, he took a much less diplomatic tone than the one he had on the trail, leading his supporters in chants about free buses, rent freezes, and universal child care.
One may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. After all, the conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
Okay, so last night, the race was called for Mamdani with 50.4% of the vote.
I'll tell you the tale of the coastal commies, bookend the country, Newsom and Mamdani, imported foreign voters, changing all our history, an evil opportunity to employ the ballot factory. But guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. One day it is. It's hump day. Get it on. Hump day.
Can we just keep it going? Just keep the vibe going today. Ladies and gentlemen, you will not find doomer vibes on our show because we're not surprised at the results of the elections. You will be psyoped into believing that for some reason this means the collapse of the republic. It doesn't. In fact, there are some very good signs based on yesterday and based on what our future could look like as a nation. We also, though, get a massive warning sign about what 50, 60, 70 years of betrayal of the American dream looks like from our leadership class, Republicans and Democrats alike. It is an important fork in the road for us, and we're going to talk about it today on Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. Democrats sweep elections in blue states. So, I mean, is it really that big of a headline? All right. New York, Virginia, New Jersey, and California. But Benny, Virginia is like a southern state. It's a red state. Virginia isn't Virginia anymore. New York isn't New York anymore. California isn't California anymore. And New Jersey, here's hoping. I think there's some very good signs out of New Jersey, quite frankly. New Jersey is exactly where Florida or Pennsylvania was a decade ago. And ladies and gentlemen, we're just getting to work. And we are going to be working today at a speech in Auburn that's happening tonight. It is going to be historic. We have major announcements. We will be joined, of course, by the Trump family and some other special guests. Get ready. We're going to have a very good time. So please watch online a Turning Point extravaganza celebration of what? that Christ loves a comeback, that what man intends for evil, God intends for good, and what we are truly fighting. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today on the program. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Fatty 15! Make sure that you're getting healthier as you age. Make sure that you are engaging your body in the way that it likes to be engaged, and with the nutritional aging elements that sometimes get depleted. We do live in a depleted society. The soil isn't the same as it was 15, 20, or 50 years ago for sure, and neither is your diet. Fatty 15, especially the C15 fatty acid, is something that is essential to aging well and making sure that this scientific breakthrough is in your diet. This is something that is critical. The Fatty 15 co-founder, Stephanie Venn Watson, discovered the benefits of C15 while working at the U.S. Navy, continually helping to improve the welfare of aging dolphins. They made this breakthrough discovery with hundreds of studies that C15 helps strengthen your cells as you age. It is a nutrient, completely all natural, biological, aging at a cellular level. Make sure that your cells don't become fragile and that you age faster. No. You want to reverse that, ladies and gentlemen, and you want to age gracefully, naturally, and healthily. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize C15 levels and support your long-term health. Go today. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/Benny. Use the code Benny at checkout. Okay. It's elections like last night that make me age prematurely, certainly. But I'm not worried. I'm not. You're not going to find dooming around here. You're not going to find me weeping or gnashing of teeth. You're not going to find me sitting there curled up in a fetal position, in the fecal position, on the floor, crying my eyes out because a bunch of Marxists won in cities that have been surrendered to the Marxists. I'm going to direct my anger at days gone by, generations gone by that allowed this to happen to our American experiment, and I'm going to stay laser focused, not on my own, not on the infighting and drama and unnecessary distractions of the moment, but on the true enemy, which is the Marxist. And let me give you a little example of what we are truly fighting. You're going to be shocked that it doesn't come from Zoran Mandami's speech or any of the speeches of the communist or dangerous left-wing radicals that were elected last night, including a guy that says he wants to mass slaughter and genocide Republican children. We're going to talk a little bit on this program. And I've thought deeply about this, about what is actually happening. What is the moment that's going on here? And it's a good moment. It's a cyclical moment. And it's a moment that will have a very happy ending as long as we keep our vision and our core and our grounding stable. The founders set us up for success. The founders created ingenious systems to ensure that America will always and forever be a bulwark against the type of nihilistic Marxism, the type of death, destruction, violent power grabs that you are now seeing across the nation. They are violent people, and we're going to talk about why. But this is the path of every great civilization. Is your civilization strong enough to shrug off the enemies within? And let me explain what the enemy within looks like. Hassan Piker, maybe you know, maybe you don't. He is a left-wing streamer. He's somebody who's a bestie with Zoran Mandami. He's someone who is an absolute and total radical. He's also an animal abuser, live on his stream. He calls for the murder of Republicans and the genocide of Republicans with regularity. He then abuses his animal, his dog, by shocking it if it doesn't stay in his shot. I mean, this guy's a monster. And he's done this regularly. Anyway, this is the kind of drama that I like to follow because, quite frankly, it's the way to take and to deplatform take our enemies and to expose them. And this guy is the enemy of America. And let me explain. In a very simple clip from last night, as Hassan is celebrating the election of a globalist communist in New York by shockingly not abusing his dog. I thought that's the way that the guy celebrated, but here we have Hasan Piker stating that it's too bad that America, the country that he lives in, was able to defeat the Soviet Union. This is what we're fighting against. Here we go.
Done.
What do you think it means that this guy ran as a socialist and anti-communism didn't work to stop him? That's big.
Yeah, I think we are in the heart of the imperial core. This is the country that defeated the USSR, unfortunately. And the reality of the matter is, there's a lot of antagonism. There's no class consciousness in the United States of America. It's one of the things that I try to address every day with my commentary. And I will say this, the conditions have deteriorated so much that everyday Americans, in spite of their lack of class consciousness, are finally arriving at the conclusion that perhaps there is an alternative out there. There is an alternative that focuses on them as opposed to the interests of the billionaires and the millionaires, as opposed to the interests of the capital owners. And I mean, you can't help but notice that. You can't help but feel at least a little bit of excitement around that.
And also the significance.
This is a man that says that it's too bad that America defeated the Soviet Union. He's living in America and not in a communist country. There are many communist countries that exist. You can move to Havana. You could move to Pyongyang. You could move back to neo-socialist nations. You could move to China. Hasan could move anywhere, but he lives here in America. It's very easy to be a communist in a capitalist country. It's very easy for Hasan. Hasan, with his degenerate and animal-abusing worldviews, would not be welcomed, I don't think, in most of the communist nations on Earth. Hasan also likes to wear women's jewelry and is a very interesting character. Anyway, the point is, I'd just love to see Hasan spend a day in Pyongyang. I'd love to see Hasan spend a day inside of the nation, well, there you go, that the types of nations and styles of governance that he so seeks here in America. He's an edgelord. He would never dare. I've been to Havana. I've been to Cuba. I've shown people what it looks like there, the gas lines, the food lines, the hellscape, the hopelessness, the collapse, the calamity of a once great nation and civilization. We've shown people the starvation. We've shown people the body bags stacked 100 million high from Marxists and communists over the last 100 years. In the types of regimes that Hasan fetishizes. China, the Soviet Union. This is what they wish to bring to America. And there's a reason why they want to bring this to America. And it's critically important. Godlessness. These people don't believe in God. They don't believe in a creator. These first lines of our Declaration of Independence, all men are what? Created. Created by whom? Well, the Democrat Party, flip a quarter, whether they believe in God or not. 50% of the Democrat Party doesn't believe in God. So if you're going to make the argument that all men are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, but you don't believe in God, then you're not going to believe in America's founding. You can't believe that all men are created equal if you don't believe in God. It's totally and completely antithetical, and this is precisely the Marxist worldview, which goes like this. There is no God. There should be no church. There should be no private businesses. There should be no private ownership of anything. The state should own everything. The state is God. And that is the grand difference. And it always has been, by the way. It shouldn't chill you to the bone. It shouldn't scare you that this is happening now in America. It's always happened throughout all civilization. There are societies that are structured around the belief that God is God and is sovereign, and they are always fought from within by those who believe that they are God and that the government is God. And that is the constant battle. It's an eternal battle. It's been fought for thousands and thousands of years, and that is what we are facing now. Hasan Piker is sitting there saying that the Soviet Union is too bad that they collapsed. You know, Stalin killed something like 40 million of his own people. For what? For power. He starved them to death. Some of the worst genocides in human history committed by a regime that Hassan Piker is fetishizing there and celebrating at the Zorhan Mandami election night party. They're telling you who they are. They're telling you what they believe, and they're telling you what they want to do here. All men are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Life. Life is the first and foremost right that we have. We are the party of life. We are a movement of life. They are a movement of death and destruction. And they have proven that, not only in this election cycle, but over the last year, that they are willing to kill. They're willing to kill President Trump. They celebrated that President Trump was shot in the head. They celebrated that Charlie Kirk was murdered. They are now fully and totally, the Democrat Party has metastasized into a Marxist, a wholly Marxist and communist movement. Zorhan Mandami bragged about being a socialist. That is just a candy paint version of communism. It's the same thing. Government, wholesale government control of public and private industry. And they're openly celebrating the Soviet Union because they don't see value in life. They don't believe in a creator. 50% of Democrats don't believe in God. That means they don't believe in America's founding and they don't believe in the value of life. Now, 93% of Republicans believe in God, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference. Republicans also go out and do the kind of thing that creates more life, like starting families, falling in love, getting married, having babies, following God's first commandment. Go be fruitful and multiply. The first commandment of God in the Bible is not the 10 Commandments. It's not the Beatitudes or Sermon on the Mount. All of those things are incredibly important, and you should study all of them and write them on your heart. But the first command of God to Adam after his creation of Adam is go be fruitful and multiply. Because Republicans believe in God, we follow through on that. Being a parent is a right-wing coded activity. Having families, living prosperous, happy lives, free of the spiraling nihilism and envy and bitterness of the left. These are good and positive things, but the left doesn't engage in that. They also don't have children. They just don't. If you're older than 30 and you're childless and you're not in a relationship, there's a 70% chance you're a Democrat. Meanwhile, if you do have more than 2 kids and you're over the age of 30, there's a 60% chance you're a Republican. Parenting is right-wing coded because we do believe in God and because we do make choices that lead to happier lives. The left doesn't. They cannot procreate, and so they try and indoctrinate. And when they can't indoctrinate, they destroy and they kill. And that is what we're facing. And it doesn't surprise us what happened last night because, well, we've been talking about this for years. And we've been seeing it happen for years. What Charlie often said was what happens on the college campus is going to overtake the political establishment. And so Charlie saw it very early that these little AOCs were taking over college campuses and they were Marxists. And then AOC gets elected as a socialist and everybody laughed and thought there's no way that this could be a viable movement. And now look, Democrat socialism, whatever the hell that is, just communism, has wholly and completely taken over the Democrat Party. And so that is the fight. That is the civilizational battle that we are up against. You can truly boil it down to who owns the American dream. What is the American dream? As set forth by our founders, the American dream is beautifully crystallized life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And who owns those 3 things? Our movement. Our movement has the key to all of them. We're the ones who practice all of them. And the left practices none of them. They practice destruction. and the destroying of life, especially. And they don't see any problem with it as long as it leads to power. That's communism. And what you saw last night is the election of Jay Jones. This is a man who said he wanted to genocide Republican children. Democrats voted for him by the millions. Can we put up the Jay Jones? I want to see the election results, please, in Virginia. If we don't have them, please get them. Jay Jones, millions of Democrats voted for him. Here you go, Attorney General election. You can see here just a perfect description of what happened yesterday. So 1.8 million Democrats voted for a man who says he wants to murder Republicans. 53% to 46%. A perfect example of what happened last night. I wanted you to look at this map of Virginia. Here's the Democratic Party saying it is permissible to murder my political opponents for power. That's something we've never seen before. Not in the American experience, not in the modern American political experience. This is something that is, of course, extremely dangerous, and it's something that must be defeated. Thank God our founders actually laid out the framework for how to defeat it. What you'll see here is that Virginia only has like 8 blue counties. I don't think you even need both hands to count the number of blue counties that Virginia has. This is the beauty of federalism and what is actually happening right now on a national scale. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring you to the 2030 apportionment forecast and why the Democrat Party is getting so damn scared right now. Why the Democrat Party is losing it and embracing radicalism because they see no path forward. What has happened over the past decade, especially, accelerated exponentially by COVID, is that red voters, common sense voters, have fled Democrat states and moved to red states. And what that is going to do, based on the genius of our founders, who were good and Christian and moral men and set up this nation on the basis of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, is that people can freely move to pursue happiness. They can freely move. They have the liberty to do so. And where are they moving? Well, they're moving out of red states. They're moving out of blue states into red states, as you can see here on the map. Now, this is just an estimation. It may get far worse for Democrats here. This is why I could care less about the redistricting battle in California, because they're going to lose 5 congressional seats anyway. This estimation is 3 congressional seats for California, 2 for New York, 1 for Wisconsin, 1 for Minnesota, 1 for Illinois, 1 for Oregon, all of them blue states. And they're fleeing to red states. You can see this in the map, the 10 states where people moved into or out of. 500,000 people moved out of New York, many to Florida. Ron DeSantis was on last night giving this crystal clear picture, saying the reason why Republicans lost New Jersey was because all of the Republicans in New Jersey have fled already to Florida. Do you understand that Republicans now have a 1.5 million voter advantage in Florida? This is absolutely critical. Democrats have brought destruction upon blue states and have forced the flood of people. Here's 545,000 people leaving New York. What is the number 1 landing destination? Florida, followed by Texas, some to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania flips red. This is federalism in action. And these states, because they are electing communists, are going to simply accelerate this trend and are going to lose electoral power. Can you please go back to the 2030 apportionment map? How does this ever make sense? How does this map make sense for Democrats? How will Democrats ever win the House again? How will they ever win the presidency again? How is it possible? It's not. You'll see it's not just Texas and Florida. I like to focus on these states, but it's also Idaho, deep red state, Utah, deep red state, Arizona, red state. Arizona was the #1 swing state, the hardest flip for Trump, meaning the state that swung hardest in the direction away from Joe Biden, away from Kamala Harris, in favor of Trump was Arizona. So I'm counting there 15 electoral college seats and 15 potential House seats, because mark my words, these states are not going to take the new congressional districts and hand them over to Democrats. How are they going to function after the next general election cycle in 2028? But that is why this moment is so imperative. That is why you need to lock in now. This moment is so critical for our nation, because they are going to get extreme. And as they lose power, they are going to embrace Charlie Kirk's killer. They're going to embrace the man who shot President Trump in the head. They're going to embrace radical ideologies in order to cling on to power, because they have nothing that is eternal that centers them. When we lose in 2020, Mitt Romney and John McCain and whatever, it's like a joke. Like, those losses were obvious. They were a joke. They were hard to take. But what happens? Like, you go back to your family. You go back to church. You create the Tea Party. You create Turning Point USA. You get to work. You hit the bricks. You don't get guns and start murdering everyone. That's what they are doing now. And then embracing communism, right? Embracing the most radical fringe elements. Totally and completely foreign to the American political experience? No. That's not what we did after we lost, but that's what they're doing right now. That's what the movement of the left is doing right now. And they're doing it because they know that they're doomed. Based on their own incompetent stewardship of their states, they know they're doomed. So the headline, and don't believe anyone else who's dooming on this right now. If you're listening to any other programs, don't believe, I won't allow it. I won't allow blackpilling. I won't allow dooming on this program. What happened last night were blue states that have been wrecked by Democrat leaders on purpose, most likely, to ensure that Republicans and good moral people leave their states. Those people have fled. Those blue states then elected blue governors and blue members of their legislature and so on. That's all that happened. New York City, which is a globalist city, filled with people who are not Americans, that don't speak English, decided to elect a candidate that reflects the modern visage of New York, which is a globalist, neo-Marxist population that has come from different political and different societal and different cultural traditions than we have here in America. And they elected a guy, here's the results, to reflect that. This is not shocking, although this betrayal obviously asks and begs some major questions about what we are as Americans right now, and more importantly, what happens in the future when it comes to immigration policy. Because that was the true lesson from last night, that these states are getting what they've imported or exported. As Republicans flee and as Democrats radicalize, you're going to see this spiral. And what's going to happen is and you've already seen it in places like Detroit and in places like Chicago, as these societies spiral and collapse, it gets really bad. Okay, okay, that's interesting. Let me know here. I'm just checking on. Oh, okay. All right. Got it. I just heard from my producer that Senator Eric Schmidt is at the White House right now meeting with President Trump and doing some, well, hopefully some major strategizing. He's a really smart guy, and he's President Trump's golf partner. And we love it, Eric Schmidt. But unfortunately, he will not be able to make the show today. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, that is what has happened here in this election. So I'm not going to fret. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to shiver. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to doom. And we're going to let these states, and if you're a Republican in these states, I encourage you to stay and keep fighting. I'll be fighting alongside of you. But the beautiful architecture of our founding and our founders is at play here. The states that are properly managed and properly run are booming and are gaining power. These states that are run by these Marxists and these communists are collapsing and they're losing power. And that's the way the system is supposed to work. Effectively, the American people have voted. And you're going to get good and hard what you voted for in these states. So good luck to the libs in New York, and New Jersey, and in Virginia. When New Jersey comes screaming for help, we will be there. Just sent in right now from Scott Pressler, reflecting a very similar message. New Yorkers, I know this isn't what you want to hear right now, but to anyone considering moving, make Pennsylvania your home. This will help you choose a strategic county in Pennsylvania that will help us keep the House and flip the governorship. Pennsylvania is going to go the way of Florida. Mark my words. Pennsylvania is going to go the way of Texas. Pennsylvania is going to go sorry, Klein, I'm getting some audio. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I might. Yep, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the historic white pill. If you have to take a pill, make sure that you're taking it from somebody who really does care about you, especially in this current medical environment. This is an environment that is crippling American families. Everybody's insurance is going up and skyrocketing right now. Democrats did, in fact, shut down the government, made this country much more dangerous and much scarier in order to get this election victory. The governor of Virginia is straight up saying that the government shutdown was intended in order for them to flip Virginia. Nonetheless, make sure that you are locking in with Christian Care. Medi-Share is what my family uses to insure our family, and we've had like millions of children. And that's a very expensive activity. It's a very expensive hobby if you're not on the right insurance. Medi-Share is a Christian company. They have high standards for the people that they insure, and that allows for them to lower the rates. Man, it was amazing to work with them through multiple medical scares. You'll have that with kids as well. But then also the most important thing that you can do, which is to bring children into this world. Ladies and gentlemen, millions of Americans are now doing this. They're using Medi-Share as an option. They've been around for 30 years. They're the best dollars you will spend on health care right now. If you want to know more, there are two easy options. Go to Medishare.com/Benny, Medishare.com/Benny, or send a text and you'll get the info. It could really help you and your family. Text the word Benny to 70246. Text the word Benny to 70246 and you'll get the link. Ladies and gentlemen, Ron DeSantis explaining exactly what happened. Soon we'll be joined by a mayor, the mayor of Boca Raton here in Florida, that has seen this trend in spades. Here's the governor.
Well, first of all, Jack would have won 4 years ago, and he would have won tonight if you just take all the Republicans who've left New Jersey since I've been governor and moved to Florida. If they could have still voted in New Jersey, he would have won both of those races. Same thing with New York City, maybe not a Republican, but, Giuliani would not be able to win with this electorate the way it is now. Because what happens, Sean, is a leftist politician gets in, whether it's destroying a state like California, Illinois, New York, whether it's a city like New York City or Chicago. And the people that it tends to drive off are the center-right voters. And so when they leave, the resulting electorate is actually more liberal. That's how you go from Lori Lightfoot to Brandon Johnson in Chicago, which is digging the hole deeper. That's why you've gone from 8 years at de Blasio, now leapfrogging here 4, to have Mamdani, who's even going to be worse. And what we found in Florida is, first of all, we're not asking for anyone to move. I mean, people have talked about putting a tariff on people moving in at this point because so many have done so. And I know a lot of people in Florida would think that that would be necessary. But here's just the truth. You look at all 49 other states since I've been governor, look at who's migrated to Florida. All 49 more Republicans have moved to Florida than Democrats. Vermont, New York, Illinois, you name it. And the result of that is not just migration, because we've had a lot of people shift within Florida. But when I got elected, we had 300,000 more registered Democrats in Florida. Today, we have 1.4 million more Republicans.
All right. Ron DeSantis explaining that it is the populations of these states that will reflect the leaders of the state. So people in the heartland and in blue states wanted a common sense government, wanted lower taxes, wanted liberty and freedom during COVID, and they moved to Texas, Tennessee, and Florida. Libs want communism. They want a zero trust society, and that is exactly what they get. This clip is astonishing. Here from Virginia, where Democrats swept the state and where Democrat leaders engaged in violent genocidal rhetoric against Republicans and were rewarded for it by Virginia Democrats, many of them who have been laid off by DOJ. You have to understand what Virginia is. Virginia is like a unemployment community for federal slob workers who never contributed anything, who never did anything, who feel like they are effectively welfare cases for the taxpayers because they worked at HUD one time and they need to be subservient to the federal bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. They have to live somewhere. They can't live in D.C. because it is so violent and dangerous. So they all moved to Virginia. And the 3 counties of Northern Virginia, which are extremely populated, effectively swing the entire state. You can see here in the map. And those people voted in a landslide for a man who wants to genocide Republicans. They were all fired. These people are the ones who are fired by DOJ. They're the ones who have no discernible skill or talent other than to be an urchin working for the federal government. And that is what these counties in Northern Virginia right there, the Arlington area, represent. We've talked many times about how evil those counties are. Why are those counties the single most rich by median income counties in the entire country? It's a critical question. The reason why these are the highest net income counties in the nation are because these are all defense contractors. These are all people that work parasitically on the underbelly of the taxpayer. There's only one industry that is created in this area. There's no coal there. There's no oil there. There's no diamond mine there. The only reason people are wealthy there is because they parasitically live off of the federal taxpayer and then vote themselves engorged riches from all of us. And that is what those counties represent. Now, when DOJ and Donald Trump comes in and takes that away from them, what do you think is going to happen? They'll vote for the guy that's willing to kill Republicans. And that's precisely what happened in those counties. More importantly, they'll make sure that if you are not on board with new wars and eternal globalism, then they'll bring in people to replace you. And that is precisely what's happening in Virginia. Here's a remarkable interview with a Kenyan immigrant who says, my main motivation for voting for Democrats is that I have so many more Kenyans that I wish to bring here, and Donald Trump doesn't want that to happen. This is my vote. My vote isn't to make America better. My vote isn't for the population of people that are native to this land. My vote isn't to somehow fix the numerous problems that we currently have in this country. My vote is to make sure that more third world migrants can come to America and live off of the lavish welfare systems of this nation. Understand what we've done and what many generations of Republicans and Democrats have done to our country. Here's the electorate.
I always vote since I became a citizen, and that was 20 years ago. And I migrated from Kenya originally. My family is back home in Kenya, and how I see how things are going on, like with families being separated, as a human being, as a mother, separating families, especially children, from their mothers or fathers. I don't believe in that. So that made me come out and also come and vote.
So that's one big issue. Another one is the government shutdown. Tens of thousands of government workers live here in Loudoun County. A lot of them told us that is.
Yep. Nailed it. Right there. Government shutdown in order to piss off Virginia voters, because so many of them work parasitically for the government. And then that woman saying, not as an American, not as somebody who lives in this country, but as somebody who has a loyalty to Kenya, just like Hassan Piker has a loyalty to the USSR, that's why she's voting. This was perfectly reflected in Zoran Mandami's victory speech last night, where he thanked every population except Americans for his victory because the native populations of New York voted for Cuomo. What I mean by that is people who are one generation or less removed from an actual immigration status. It's wild. Here's Democrat candidate for mayor Zoran Mandami saying, "We came here to remake the state in the image of our people." And that is precisely what they've done to the city of New York. Are you New Yorkers down for this? Because it's going to become Gotham. Listen to Mandami. Here we go.
We came here to remake this state in the image of our people.
We're going to remake this great American city in the image of our people, not the American people. Do nothing for Americans. Americans are the enemy. And that is the way they think. You can hear it. Last night. Here we go.
Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties. To every New Yorker in Kensington and Midwood and Hunts Point.
Everyone but Americans. Every population but Americans. Assimilation was a lie. The melting pot was a lie. It's all a lie. It's all replacement politics. And it's been laid totally bare now by guys like Zoran Mandami. Well, I'm thankful, actually, for it. And we'll see. We'll see how the genius of the mechanisms and architecture of our founding actually work as these states collapse and descend into anarchy. And I don't want to see it. New York's a great American city. Chicago's a great American city. Detroit was a great American city. And the people will vote. And they'll flee. And they'll leave. And they'll give the power to states like Florida and Texas and Tennessee and other red states. And they'll strip power from these states. And without mass criminal immigration, then the states will simply collapse. One funny thing that happened last night was during the Mandami election night party, apparently a Trump is your president asset was played. Trump is your president. So somebody hacked the screen last night. You know what to see. President Trump commenting on all of this. And so it begins. It's exactly our take this morning. And so it begins. Trump wasn't on the ballot, and the shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost on election night, according to pollsters. That's an absolute matter of fact. President Trump is the Republican Party. Pass voter reform, voter ID, no mail-in ballots. Save our Supreme Court from packing, no two-state additions, etc. Terminate the filibuster. President Trump is now on termination of the filibuster, a much weightier topic that I look forward to exploring on this program. But this is, of course, what is being held hostage right now in the Senate with the government shutdown, is just the funding of the government. And they're doing it on purpose. It's a total nihilistic power play in order to collapse the nation and in order to collapse the federal government. One last clip, but I just can't help myself because Proposition 50 did pass in California. California Governor Gavin Newsom, Proposition 50 vanity project coasted to victory, paving the way for Democrats to flip critical congressional seats for the 2026 midterms. The Associated Press called the results promptly because, well, California Democrats voted for it. 4.4 million voters saying yes to the measure. 35% voted against it. Flanked by his wife, the governor wasted no time in bashing President Trump. Here's what he had to say.
But you see, as we speak, people are still in line. People waiting up 3 hours to cast their vote, to send a message to Donald Trump. No crowns, no thrones, no kings. That's what this victory represents. It's a victory for the people of the state of California and the United States of America.
No crown, no kings. Isn't that remarkable? No crown, no thrones, no kings. From a guy who is a Nepo baby who was installed by the billionaire class in California, who has run that state into the ground, who said you're not allowed to be on the beach during COVID, who filled the skate parks with sand during COVID, who took one of the single most beautiful, naturally gifted states in all of the union and plunged it into absolute darkness, saying that you're not allowed to go to church, but you are allowed to go to a casino or a liquor store during COVID. Gavin Newsom, who owes his career to Nancy Pelosi, who's been in office for 40 years, who has a higher net worth than any king living today. That's a matter of fact. Gavin Newsom saying no crowns, no thrones, no kings. Gavin Newsom, who's done everything, every move has been for him to establish himself as the front runner for 2028 in the Democrat Party. And he'll be facing off with J.D. Vance.
And it was just like hustling.
It's just like hustling. He's just hustling. This is Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom. Here's a photo of Gavin Newsom hustling. Right. Here's the Gavin Newsom. Here's Gavin Newsom is hustling. With his $700 Burberry scarf. Thank you. Very good. This is what it'll look like. Wonder Bread and mac and cheese Gavin Newsom with his billionaire buddies. These are the billionaire heirs of the Getty fortune. The caption on this photo was "Life of Privileged Rich Kids." It was first published. Gavin Newsom's father was the lawyer for the billionaire Getty family. And so, yes, Gavin Newsom, just hustling. Totally. No kings for Gavin Newsom. No kings. This is the no kings guy. Got it. J.D. Vance, here we go. J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom. Count on it in 2028. That's what we're preparing for. I think it's idiotic to overreact to a couple of elections in blue states, but a few thoughts. Scott Pressler, TPUSA, and a bunch of others have been working hard to register voters. I said it in 2022, and I've said it repeatedly since. Our coalition is lower propensity, and that means that we have to do better at turning out voters than we have in the past. And we need to focus on what does lower propensity mean? I just want to unpack that. Lower propensity means that these are people with lives, right? These are people that have other things going on in their lives. They have families, they have churches, and they have school clubs. They have children. They have businesses. They have other things to do. The left do not have these things. They do not create these things. It is the right who creates. The left destroys. But lower propensity means that we have other things to do than obsess about politics all day. And And so this is critically important to reach these people. 2, says JD Vance, we need to focus on the home front. The president has done a lot, has already paid off in lower interest rates and lower inflation, but we inherited a disaster from Joe Biden, and Rome wasn't built in a day. We're going to keep on working on making a decent life affordable for this country, and that metric will be ultimately how we are judged in 2026 and beyond. This is critically important. Major announcements from me tonight, as we are going to engage in this domestic fight. You have to lower costs for people. You have to make the American dream affordable and approachable. You have to unlock the dream that you can own property in this land, that you can own a home, that it's worth investing here as a young person. You have to do that. You must do it. If you don't do it, you're going to have a very, very bad future. You're going to have a nihilistic, collapsed future of this nation. And there are young people that are right now very susceptible to that. And they'll embrace communism, and they'll straight up embrace Marxism because a free home is better than no home at all. Free home, right? The cost, of course, is you being a slave and having no choice. Anyway, number 3, and this is one that I agree with probably more than all of them, although I agree with all of these, but man, do I ever punch on this one. The infighting is stupid. I care about my fellow citizens, particularly young Americans, being able to afford a decent life. I care about immigration and our sovereignty, and I care about establishing peace overseas so our resources can be focused at home. If you care about these things too, let's work together. JD Vance striking the perfect note here. This is actually about the future of our country. And if we don't refocus on America, and I am sick and tired of hearing about Israel, I'm sick and tired of hearing about Ukraine, I'm sick and tired of hearing about Argentina, I just don't care anymore. I want to hear with laser focused and absolute consistency and a plan, something that we are working on developing right now, how we are going to make life better for Americans, period. I don't care about a war zone in Ukraine. I care about a pothole on my street. Sorry, I'm just a selfish person, and I want my children to be able to be raised in a safe and stable and functional society. That is my birthright as an American, and that is what we're doing here. First, that is what America First is. I want my children to be able to afford homes. I want them to be able to live happy and peaceful lives. That is what I am fighting for. And a moral nation will fight for nothing else. A moral person will fight for nothing else. They will see the same. Ladies and gentlemen, it's also why I'm investing. I invest in gold. I invest in gold because, as you can see in our current stock market and current political environment, there is going to be some major ups and downs. That's just a matter of fact. The Fed funds rate, for instance, is just all over the map. Nobody even knows what the hell is going to go on. Right now, crypto's dumping, stocks are dumping. Right now, listen, man, gold has been a very smart investment for me. When they start printing the money printers again and the dollar sinks lower and lower in value, gold goes up. Scarcity will always work, and it's the only driver of all economics. Scarcity. The 2025 Gold and Silver Report is available from my friends at Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold is who I trust. With my retirement funds that is diversified into gold, you can actually hold the gold in your hands. You can use your IRA, 401k, or TSP to legally buy gold penalty-free. Don't wait for the Fed to keep rolling the dice with your savings. Text Benny to 85545 now and claim your free 2025 Gold and Silver Report. Text Benny to 85545 right now for up to $10,000 in free bonuses. That's Benny to 85545 and claim $10,000 in free silver today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to welcome to the program a mayor who can speak to this exact phenomenon. He's the mayor of Boca Raton, and his. I'm looking at the guest list here. ALX. Goodness gracious. Mayor Scott Singer is joining us live right now from the great Florida city of Boca. Okay, all right. Reading up. Hey, thank you, Mayor, for being on the program.
Thanks for having me, Benny. Happy to be here.
And do you agree with the governor of Florida that this is something that was inevitable, that these states are collapsing, based on their own corruption and based on the inability to retain good and productive citizens?
Yes, we've been seeing people vote with their feet for years. That's why we've had the population growth in Florida and, as you said, Texas and Tennessee. In Boca Raton, we've had steady but modest growth. We're a built-out city of 100,000 people, and we're not prepared to welcome all the residents who want to flee New York, but we have had strategic, targeted outreach to businesses, to job creators, innovators, and entrepreneurs who want to move their corporate headquarters and join our robust ecosystem. And we've gotten a lot of calls leading up to this week over the last few months, a lot more coming in even today. I suspect people are going to be taking us up on the invitation to join and fill our existing Class A office and new that's underway.
Is this primarily from New York and New Jersey? Do you think that the election of Mamdani is going to accelerate this?
I do think it's going to accelerate it. And it's not just New York and Jersey. We had a targeted campaign called NY to Boca. We launched a website, nytoboca.com, got thousands of views within the first few weeks. And they were from 10 states and actually several other countries as well. People understand that Boca Raton's got the best of everything. We're 100,000 people in South Florida, in President Trump's home county, close to Mar-a-Lago. But aside from that, we've got a great business ecosystem, high quality of life, the lowest property tax rate of any full service city. And like so many other cities, we govern effectively by keeping services efficient. We don't have DEI, we don't have ESG. We focus on getting the services there and invest heavily in public safety.
Yeah. So what would be your greatest selling point if you're talking to somebody who's in New York right now and they're saying, I'm not sure I want to live under a defund the police regime. I'm not sure I want my taxes to go up exponentially. I run a business here and I'm looking to get out.
Several pitches. First, no state or income tax. Contrast that to the nearly 17% that you're going to be facing under Mamdani. We have Class A office here, 30% lower operating costs, great talent with 3 universities, including the Tier 1 Research University and Florida Atlantic University. Great schools, great quality of life, great weather. We did not shut down during COVID, and we did not penalize businesses. We welcome them. We're here to celebrate and propel business, not overregulate it and defeat it.
You know, I got to assume that there's plenty of Cubans, at least in the greater southern Florida area, and I know that there's probably many that are your constituents, and they know full well what communism brings to a once prosperous land. Can you speak to them?
Sure. We don't have this high of Cuban population in Boca Raton. We're about 30 miles north of Miami, but we have a broad base of people who fled communism and fled socialism, whether it was Eastern Europe, Cuba, or other South American nations. And they understand we are here to create a vibrant microcosm of what America should be. Strong in public safety, great schools and quality of life, propelling business, and letting people be free from the overregulation of government. And it saddens me. I lived in New York for 10 years, but I was wise enough to get out. I made my move to Boca Raton, and it was the best move of my life. And I'm looking for other business leaders and job creators who want to do the same, because we're here to help them. But it's sad to see what's happening in New York. It makes me grateful, though. A year ago today, we elected President Trump. And if we're seeing what happened in New York and a few states, just think about the catastrophe the nation and world would be facing if we hadn't won that election. I'm so grateful for what President Trump's been able to do the last 9 months, and we can expect good things to propel us forward. We just have to work harder.
Yes. So can you please diagnose what is this political moment that we're living through? For me, it seems like it's kind of the death throes of a party that is desperately trying to find some type of energy or power. They have seemingly sold off their working class base and have decided to do a full-on embrace of what they're painting as Democrat socialism, but what is really just Marxism and communism in practice. What is your diagnosis of this current political environment?
That the Democratic Party has some real inherent sicknesses here. And I think it's going to require us as conservatives to continue to preach the message that the Democratic Party of 30 years ago has no resemblance to what we're seeing, maybe even 10, 15 years ago. We've just seen the far left threaten, and take control. And you're even seeing it now with established Democrats fearing and moving more toward the left radically. It's not a recipe for success. I'm old enough to remember Reagan and the coalition he built of Reagan Democrats. I think we should be seeing more Democrats really take a whole cold, hard look at what their parties become and start voting the right way. And only then will we tamp down the insidious move by communists and socialists to take control of an institution.
Yes, it does seem incredibly insidious, and we'll be watching very closely to see the early returns. It doesn't look great for the city of New York, but I guess we'll see. In conclusion here, Mr. Mayor, what is going to be happening in the state of Florida to continue the trajectory? There's no such thing as a permanent red state or a permanent blue state. What's your advisement to the governor in keeping Florida red and prosperous and populated?
Well, we have the president here. We've had Governor DeSantis. We've got Byron Donalds, who's running for governor, and all along the same line, along with mayors. I work with mayors across the country as part of the America First Policy Institute Mayors Council, where we're trying at the local level to make sure we have sensible, common sense policies that provide greater opportunity for residents. We have to address affordability, but the way to do it is through free market and lowering the cost of government and the regulation, not like Mamdani's doing. And in Florida, I think we're going to continue to do that. We've seen a large uptick in the number of conservative voters. What was a purple state is becoming red. And if people are coming from New York or other places, we expect them to be voting with their economic interest and the reason they're fleeing these terrible socialist ideas. We don't want to see those ideas come to root here. We're not seeing them. That the math has borne that out. But I think it just takes continued effort, especially as we look to the 2026 midterms. It's more important than ever that we get people to turn out. President Trump will not be on the ballot again, but the America First ideas are very important to keep perpetuating, particularly when we've got threats from within.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Godspeed. Here's where you can follow Mayor Scott Singer, who is the mayor of Boca Raton, and doing a fantastic job. It is a beautiful city, and it is one of the fastest growing population centers in the entire world, South Florida. And we're honored to be your fellow South Floridian from the other coast. And Godspeed, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. You too.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are heading out. We are going to be flying with Eric Trump on Trump Force One today to the speech in Auburn. We're thrilled about it. We're going to be, though, getting on the road. We're going to be taking our Patriot Mobile device with us. Patriot Mobile obviously keeps us locked in and connected on the road so that we are always able to reach you. We'll be posting all throughout the day. We're thrilled about tonight. We are going to bring the energy. It is going to be a celebration of President Trump and his electoral victory on this date 1 year ago, something that Charlie Kirk worked so damn hard for, something that Charlie Kirk gave his life for, in fact, the saving of the Republic. Patriot Mobile does believe in Christian conservative values. For 12 years, they've stood by Americans who believe in faith, family, and freedom, and that is what is going to save this land. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Benny for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. Make the switch today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, my time that I'm going to do this every single show, where I will be showing you the Christmas ornaments with our Christmas music, our new Christmas music, fully available on the Benny store right now. Made by veterans, made right here in America. Our new suite of Christmas ornaments. They are selling like hotcakes. Pack your Christmas tree with glad tidings and joy. And ladies and gentlemen, we wish to bring you good tidings from our show. Our Trump 2028 hat, our Feliz Navidad shutdown sombrero of Hakeem Jeffries, the President Trump and J.D. Vance ornaments. This one is one of my favorites. Also, the Trump garbage truck. Extremely beautiful ornament. Trump waving out of a window. You just can't get better than that. Yes. So a very Merry Christmas to you from our show. Make sure that you are locking in and celebrating. We wish to celebrate with you, and we will continue this historic white pill and making sure that we remember what this is all about. And what is it all about? It is about Christ, and it is about the birth of Jesus Christ, the salvation of our nation. And remember, Christ loves a comeback. What man intends for evil, God intends for good. And we will win in the end, especially if we have our verse of the day from Galatians 9:6. Let us not become weary doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's right. Do not give up. Do not get black-pilled. Do not become a doomer. And know this, that God's always got this nation. He always has. And all we got to do is keep fighting. It's your boy Benny. Help me fight the communists. Here on this program. See ya.
Hey, guess what day? Guess what? Hey, I'll tell you the tale of the coastal commies, bookend the country, news of Mem Mamdani, imported foreign voters, changing all our history, an evil opportunity to employ the ballot factory. But guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. It's hump day. Get it on. Hump day.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media deal reads. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for number one. Show come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for number one. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.